everyone, I'm Jade the Willow. We are going to build a SOLARPUNK farmhouse today, but with a twist. Let's start the time lapse while I explain my vision and break down what makes this build SOLARPUNK. SOLARPUNK is an optimistic view of the future that combines technology and nature in a sustainable world. We are going to use those elements of SOLARPUNK to make this farmhouse and eventually the whole farm sustainable. But in addition to that, this build is going to be in my new fantasy SOLARPUNK adventure map that I'm super excited about, but is quite the mouthful. That's why this cobblestone house looks like it belongs in a fantasy build. That is kind of the point. For this build, we are blending medieval fantasy with SOLARPUNK, and I'm manifesting that by imagining in the lore of this world that there was a sort of gentle SOLARPUNK industrial revolution. Right now, I'm working on the old farmstead building in cobblestone. Generations ago, this was built for the family, by the family, in a fantasy style. So I'm using a fantasy roof shape, which you saw took me a second to get. It was really awful at first. And then I'm also adding in a tower because that feels very fantasy. I mean, how many of you have a tower on your house? I certainly don't. I would love one though. That would be great. And then after we have our fantasy foundation, we are going to layer SOLARPUNK on top of this original building. We are adding in some pipes and technical elements with copper, of course, because not only does it look more technical, but also pretty colors. I wanted to add lots of detail to this build. I of course needed to add in lots of plants because again, pretty, but also SOLARPUNK. So we have a bunch of those scattered in various formats with the vines and the glow lichen, which also helps with lighting. I also wanted to break up the cobblestone a little bit, and I thought it would be fun to add in signs, and I thought the signs could kind of look like patches, not necessarily over the holes, but I thought it looked a little bit more fantasy. Another tech element other than just some copper piping, I put in some copper grates with a button on top, and if you can't tell what I was trying to accomplish, I kind of thought of it as a sort of ventilation system. I would really love to maybe do something else with it because I'd love it to stick out or like be in the wall a little bit more. Right now it's really flat. I didn't want to go too crazy and add like all of the SOLARPUNK elements that I could cram into the building onto the building. So we're focusing on adding lots of plants, greenery like the green roof, and the solar panels that we'll put on both sides, not really paying any attention to where the sun goes. But I'm imagining that right now there's this young family taking care of the farm. You know, the son, the daughter, whoever it is, has just taken over. They have their family and they're really excited about all this new SOLARPUNK technology. And so as they are continuing year to year, they're implementing more of these sustainable technologies and ways of living. So again, layering the SOLARPUNK on top of the fantasy. Right now, they're focusing on getting the solar panels in and about keeping plants around the place, and there's going to be some bees to help pollinate everything. But for right now, we don't have any wind turbines, and maybe that's something they're going to be moving towards in the future, but I haven't included them in this build for right now for that reason. When we add in the room expansion, we are going to use bamboo, which is a very sustainable building material. It doesn't match the rest of the house necessarily, but that's kind of the point. And they can add a green roof on top to make it even more SOLARPUNK and help cover the building's footprint. Even though the family isn't replacing the roof, they can add in some solar panels. So you can see how I'm taking the fantasy and mixing the SOLARPUNK in with it. My favorite area is a little workstation in the back. I thought if it was a fantasy old farmhouse, it definitely needed a chimney. You can kind of tell throughout the time lapse, I tried putting the chimney on a bunch of different walls and I still don't love the one it landed on because the expansion really blocks it, but it was just the best fit for the space. And I think the brick adds in some much needed color. We of course need to add a few other elements, like a regular garden and a vertical garden, which both fit in with SOLARPUNK, but the vertical garden feels very SOLARPUNK and the regular garden has a bit more of that fantasy feeling. I mean, I guess we also have regular gardens in our world, but I think you understand my point. Ta-da! It looks pretty good, doesn't it? Though, did you see the roof? At one point, I fixed it, kind of. I would love to have these here instead, but then I can't hang anything. And wouldn't it look silly if only like some of them Maybe it fits into that lopsided. Oh, maybe that fits into the lopsided thing. Okay, I'm gonna leave it for now and think about it. But we've got some bikes. I have the grindstones as wheels instead of oak trapdoors because I wanted it centered, and I just love my little handlebars. They're so cute. We've got an automatic harvesting bee farm thing, and my favorite part of this, oh my goodness, my favorite part is the gates that hold up the solar panel. I'm really happy with the house. I think it does look a little silly to have this up here, but that's the whole point, so it's fine. I've got a garden with some weeds to represent that constant battle, and some vertical farms, just because I could. Guys, since the last clip, I have changed what I was going to cover in this video. I'm going to do some of it in a different video, which is fine. However, you're going to see it in the background, and I'm going to talk about it later. But for now, just, yeah, ignore all of that. Just don't look at it. They're spoilers. I'm sorry, that's very close. But I needed to tell you because it's going to be in the background, and I didn't want to try to pretend it wasn't there because it's going to be hard, because we are going to do a little bit of interior next. So I have some of it started, kind of. I put in a fireplace and this rug here because it was kind of sad looking, and I put in some walls up here because I was seeing through the window and I didn't love how empty it was looking. I did make this whole room because you could really see right through, and I love it so much. I love the pink with the yellow. I love the things on the walls. I love my glow lichen that I put on the ceiling. I think it's just fantastic, and I use the shelves, which is super exciting. This guy's just hanging out here to fill up the space, but isn't this such a cozy room? I love it so much. And a way out into here, which is honestly not very pleasant to hang out in because everything's so tall, but I like the space that the double takes up. Anyway, not important. You can get out there now. We're going to do a very brief, short little focus on the interior. Again, I really want to focus on mixing solarpunk and fantasy, so that's next. I think one of the important things with solarpunk interiors, rather than the stylistic choices, is the intention and story behind them. For example, we can have a very energy efficient stove and fridge, but it'll look the same as if we said it was a very ordinary energy using fridge. So just pretend with me. Of course, I am adding in lots of plants and greenery because that feels very solarpunk, and then I wanted to mix a few different furniture elements, leaning a little bit more with some into a modern look and leaning a little bit towards fantasy with some of the other things. I had to make extra space in the living room because with the fireplace, I just could not get everything to fit. And speaking of not getting everything to fit, the whole bottom floor is very full. It just got a little chaotic, but I just wanted to add in detail, so I'm pretty happy with how it went out. I really love the area near the back door. I put some tools on the walls and sort of made it a little garden workshop, even though we also have one outside. I just love the table so much, so I put it in my build twice, which is fine. It's fine. Right, now that we have the very full, oh boy, interior downstairs done, instead of doing a time lapse, I'm just gonna run up here really quickly. We have a ginormous lamp in this room. Pretty crowded. Those are my drawers. This cute little area, which I love. Look at the little guy. He's just hanging out, you know, robot in progress. Again, just lots of plants all over the place to keep it solarpunk. And I did update this a little. I moved that and I put that there. And that pretty much is it. I did hide a secret room in here because, as I've mentioned several times, it's going to be an adventure map. So it's hidden somewhere, and I'll come show you. And if you ever want to play this map, because the goal is to make it available when it's done in the future, it makes me nervous to put something out for all of the internet to do, but that is the plan. So if you don't want to see, then spoilers. But it's really not that big of a deal. I don't know adventure-wise what it's going to do yet, but you guessed it, it's in here. And it's just back behind those guys. And I don't know what I'm going to do with the room yet. So I have this. There's a couple fish swimming around, and I have a living wall. My original idea was that maybe these farmers are doing some experimenting down here. I decided it would be a little silly if it was kind of, I don't know, evil, you know, secret bad laboratory. So I thought maybe it's just gonna be fun or silly. I don't know what I'm gonna put down there yet, but that's not the point. I would like to put in another solar panel, and I can put it in here, especially if we don't do the border, because I didn't on that one over there. But now we need a few more. This is like my favorite. I just love this area so much. I want to set up this guy so that he takes honey from here. These are pretty much just visual. I mean, they will work at nighttime, and then in the morning it'll go, but that's really slow. But these work normally all the time. And then this guy, I put a little chest for him in here, multiple ones, but he has a hard time going back and forth. He'll do fine for a little while, and then, I don't know, he gets bored, I guess, poor little buddy. And then he starts investigating chests. I found him in the apple orchard once. I found him stuck upstairs once. He's trying his best, but I guess back and forth isn't quite everything he wants. I'm going to put in a few more little details, and then we're going to showcase the completed house. So if you're enjoying the video so far and you wouldn't mind giving it a like, that would be fantastic. Or consider subscribing if you want to see more SOLARPUNK builds, because I love making them, or follow along with the progress of this adventure map. And now that I added one more element that ties to fantasy a little bit more, I think we're finished with the build, at least for now, unless I come back and change something later. If you want to see me build the rest of the farm, combining SOLARPUNK and fantasy elements, that'll be in a different video at some point in the future. But for now, we're going to finish off the video with a clip of the build using shaders, which I have never ever done before on any build. First time downloading it, so kind of exciting, kind of weird for me. You can watch the copper golems work as they go back and forth, collecting potatoes and honeycomb, and watch as the shadows and light change throughout the day. It's honestly one of my favorite parts of the video, especially the little copper golems. They're just so cute. Okay, thank you for watching. Love you guys. Bye.